Peace to the planet. You know what it is. Peace to the Bishop, live and direct from sunny and shiny Silicon Valley. That's San Jose, California, for you squares out there. I have with me a very special guest to talk about a very serious thing. Shiggy, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. How are you living?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I'm having a great sunset just to the side of me, which is something I never take for granted, so I'm enjoying
I
it.
know, right? You guys are 10 hours ahead, yeah?
Yes, we are.
All right, that is beautiful. Well, before we totally get started, we have to talk about the idea that conversations like this and friendships like this are part of what the internet was actually meant for. This is really real. When I met Shiggy, I think COVID was still a thing, right? Like were
Yeah,
were we still in lockdown or
yes.
yeah, you know? And I don't remember did we have a mutual friend? How did this happen? It's been like 5 years
Uh,
now. It was like 2023 or
s-
something like that or 22.
Student of Jiu Jitsu, student of BJJ.
Student of BJJ, the homie
Yeah, yeah.
introduced me to Shiggy because he knew I was out there. I think that's what it was. He knew I
hmm
was out because I think done the Dan Strauss podcast, the Raspberry Ape. I think that's what
Yes.
happened. And we connected, and I was in and out of London all the time. She was in London. We weren't even that far because I was in South London. Where were you at?
I was in Southwest London too. We were literally like just like this the whole
Yeah,
time.
like we could not connect for the life of us. And then once she realized that wasn't gonna happen, she was like, "I'm going to Kenya anyway."
I mean, I traveled through Europe a little bit to visit, 25
Yeah,
Brazilian
yeah.
Jiu-Jitsus, no big thing. But yeah, I had enough of the UK and decided to come back home.
So first, tell everybody what you do and why you do it. Then tell us how'd you end up in the UK anyway? Like, I need more about your actual story.
How long do you want this podcast to be? Because I think
Oh,
it's going to
this
be
will
three
stop in
hours.
72 hours. 72 hours.
Okay, so I do things. I have a portfolio life, I guess. Sound engineer by trade. Uh, I teach Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I'm a purple belt. I've been doing Jiu Jitsu for 8 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been an instructor, personal fitness trainer, worked in gyms. My path from no to jujitsu was actually from being a bouncer. So I worked as a physical security bouncer and just event security
Where?
since in the UK
Okay.
in various places. So many London nightclubs.
Yeah.
I have a couple of marks on my lips because of the times I've been punched in the face, which is always great. And private events, and then I was a manager at the London 2012 Olympics as well. So yeah, little old me, just doing big
Savage.
things.
Jigga, 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 jigga. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Also, I'm a DJ as well. You reminded me the most important thing. I'm also a
I was about
DJ.
to say that. I was like, he hasn't said anything about the DJing, bro.
So I do things that are fun. Basically, I tried corporate and got depression and went, I'm never doing that again. So that was 2006. So ever
Yeah.
since then, I've just been self-employed, doing my own thing, doing all the side quests. And then I was born in Kenya and raised in Kenya. So back in the 80 somethings,
So you were how old?
when I left, 15. So I was in the UK for 23 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yes, I'm older than I look, but
You're
we won't
not.
talk about that.
You're super young looking. Black
Of
doesn't
course I
crack.
am.
And
No,
you're from the land base, so you got a lot of anti-crack. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. And I've come back as well, so it's slowing down even more, which I'm enjoying
It's like,
thoroughly. Literally,
no, that's
no
great.
stress.
So here's a silly question, and I'm only saying this because you know that viral kid I show speed.
Oh yeah, he came around and he said Kenya was the best country he visited in
Well,
Africa.
this
So
is part of my point. What I
Mhm.
wanted to think about was when people hear that you're in Nairobi, Kenya, they probably think you're in a literal desert with nothing to eat, and that it's probably going to be really rough for you, and that I should send you $3 a month. You know what I'm saying? And I Show Speed has totally debunked a bunch of myths about and around the African continent, which is a beautiful thing because it wouldn't make sense to you as an African American. I knew this already because my parents gave me tons of books. We used to go to museums about Africa, all kinds of stuff. So I didn't have, but like growing up, seeing what people thought of Africa always blew my mind because I knew better. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of wanted to ask you, what do you think are some common myths about someone wanting to live in Africa and or Kenya specifically that they wouldn't expect? Actually, in Kenya, we like. Could you talk about that a little bit about
For
how
sure.
different? You know.
So an interesting addition I'm gonna give you as well, just because of the insight. So with my family background, some of my family members worked in the government and
Mm-hmm.
overseas, so
Mm-hmm.
representing the country overseas,
Like at embassies and
and
stuff like that. Yeah.
exactly. Trying to be broad, but not
Yeah. Yeah.
give anything away.
My
But
bad.
an interesting thing, no, it's fine. An interesting thing I heard was there's this narrative that these places want to hold on to in a way for funding. So exactly what you're saying about, give £3 a month to feed a poor pot-bellied African kid with flies on their corners of their eyes is a
Mm-hmm.
huge 70s narrative that people literally will not let die,
At
you
all.
know, at all. And, my family members were literally just like, but this is a lie. Like, we literally have technologies that the rest of the world wishes they had. For example, there's a thing over here called M-Pesa,
Mm-hmm.
which is a money account that is connected to your phone number. So you pay money to people on your phone. Most people will not accept cash anymore, you know.
Right.
So yeah, I've got an M-Pesa account. I've also got a normal bank account, but like 90% of my transactions are me asking for someone's phone number and
Wow.
money is transferred from
Going straight
my
through.
phone number account to their phone number account. That's it. You can go to an agent and get cash if you need, but for the most part, like, no one really deals with cash anymore, you know.
Wow.
Which brings up a whole other conversation of the way the government wants to control you, blah 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 blah. But we're not talking about that today. So,
Right. Right. We are not.
no, and I mean where I am now, I have a one-bedroom apartment, quite nice and sizable. There's not much in it because I need to
Yeah.
bring my stuff over from the UK. I'm paying like £400, so like $500 a month, right? Yeah, and it's nothing. Like for what it's bigger than my one-bedroom apartment I had in the UK where I was paying £600 a month. Okay, and
Right.
we have generators, so when the power cuts, we have a generator that runs. Our
Wow.
internet here is faster than the internet I had in London. We have Starlink,
Wow.
unfortunately, but it is what it is.
Yeah. But no,
Um,
that's an important thing. I'm so glad you're sharing this. I had never even heard of M-Pesa. I had no idea.
No, and this is something I share with people because everyone's like, how are you so comfortable and like smiling? I'm like, I'm so much more mentally stable now than I was in the UK. And it's because, yes, I'm running my own sound engineering business, which affords me a
Mm-hmm.
better quality of life here.
Mm-hmm.
100%. There is 110% poverty literally like the second you leave the front door. I am not going to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
There is a huge problem, mainly because of the government. And there's this unfortunate mindset that I'm noticing, because if you have expectations of things being efficient, kill it immediately. Efficiency
You're
doesn't
in.
work here. Just expectations should be -1, and then everything else is kind of cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have this theory that I've been developing. Is like, there's a lot of Kenyans who only think as far as their nose, right here. This is as far as they think. Immediate gratification, greed. Me, and
Yeah.
when you think deeper into it, you understand it because tomorrow's never guaranteed here. Literally, you could just die tomorrow because of a car accident or something.
Yep.
You know. So it's fair, but it's kind of annoying because that stumps development for a lot of Kenyans versus, foreign people, of which I am. We're
Right.
doing things very differently, and they're like, "Well, you're earning so much money," and it's just like, yeah, but it's because of the mindset's a. Little bit different.
Got you.
And yeah, when people talk to me, I talk to Uber drivers. So Uber here is super cheap. Like, I just Uber everywhere.
Wow.
And like a typical ride is anywhere from 200 to 500 shillings, which is like a pound to £3.
Wow.
You know, yeah, literally, it's
That's
next to
lit.
nothing. Yeah, so
That is
public
lit.
transport, I'd have to spend anywhere from £8 to £12 a day to get around in
Yeah,
London. And
totally.
I'm spending maybe, if I'm feeling bougie, £6 a day,
That's cool.
to get around. So yeah, Kenya is definitely developing. It's not without its faults.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yesterday the rains happened and the drainage systems are terrible. My shoes got wet trying to get the Uber, and the Uber guy's like, "I'm not parking here because it's a puddle.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need to
yeah.
go walk over there." So I had to walk for 10 minutes for him to finally stop for me to get in the car, and I was completely wet. But it's great, and we have
Barring that,
jujitsu
it's
here
pretty
as
awesome.
well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about jujitsu and your journey to it and through it. How did you find your way to it?
It's the best story ever. So I've been a martial artist my whole life. As a child, I did Shotokan karate, which I think we all did in the 90s and 80s.
I did some kind of style of karate, but it was, I think it was Kyokushin, but I was a kid. They used to
I think
get
that was the
wild.
other one. Yeah, it was either that or the other one. Like it was
Yeah, yeah,
Shotokan or
that's it.
Kyokushin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I did Taekwondo, and I did that competitively. Really enjoyed it.
That's dope.
Then I did Capoeira for a bit at university, and really enjoyed that. And then when I worked as a bouncer, the one fight that didn't split my lip open, but the one fight that happened that caused me to start jujitsu was due to a fight between two groups of girls, like
Mm-hmm.
8v8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that night, my door husband wasn't on shift, so I had a new
Mm-hmm.
person come in, and we were the snatch team. And if you know anything about
Yeah, I know the deal.
nightclubs, snatch teams are the ones that roam around, and then you got your statics. So I was always the snatch team. And I went in assuming this person understood how you break up a fight, right? You go to your primary and secondary. It was even worse. I went in, I was holding the primary because it's women, so, women
Right.
lead in that situation. And I turn around, and this bozo, how are we with swearing? Yes, no.
All the way.
This motherfucker's in the corner, right? And he's like looking at me, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, they're women. I'm like, fuck that. If they
Like,
swing,
get
they're
involved,
dudes.
homie.
We have this rule with that team: if anyone swings, you treat them like a man. Point blank,
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
Right? And these women were really going for it. And I
It
had a
was going
shaved head at
down.
the time, fully going down. They were like trying to hit me and scratch my head, but thankfully they can't hit for toffee, so I was
Yeah.
fine. But Mo was in the corner and he just wasn't doing anything. And then he comes in once I've fallen onto the floor, and he pulls my radio off of me to radio for help. And now I'm like, I'm dead in the water, right? And I'm on
Wow.
the floor. And I'm looking around me, looking at all these 90s style stiletto pumps,
Yeah,
right? You
like
remember
please
like
don't stomp me out.
I'm like, if one of these ladies knew what was going on, they could take their shoe out and put it through
They
my
could
ear hole
ruin
and I
you.
could be dead.
Yeah, they could ruin you. Yeah.
Right? So, and then I realized I actually don't know what to do on the floor. Like, this, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I knew how to wrist lock her, already
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
the
yeah.
dark side. But beyond that, I didn't know anything. I didn't know about mount, maybe like knee on belly or like anything like that. But I somehow managed to get her standing up, and then I just restrained her against the wall. And after that, end of the night, the guy got fired instantly because he put my life in
He
danger.
had to.
And he had, yeah,
Don't
he
come
got
back,
fired.
Mo. Don't let us find out you tried to go to another club, dog. Because we're coming to that club.
I'm gonna find you.
Yeah, and we're gonna show him this clip so you get to do it
Literally.
again. We'll show you
I'm,
this.
I'm
I'll show it.
I'm pretty sure he's probably seen this story a few times on the internet now.
And somebody's like, "Hey, Mo, is this you?" Hell no, that ain't got nothing to do with me, dog. I didn't even work there. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know her.
But she said it was a nightclub down in Kingston. Oh no. Anyway, so end of the night, I go to the head door guy, and I'm like, the fight that happened, I was on the floor, and I've never felt so helpless in my life, and I never want to feel like that again. And he said Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and this is a guy, ex Special Forces. He's a giant. Literally was in one of the Harry Potter films. That's how big this dude is.
Wow.
Naturally, not CGI'd. And yeah, so he said Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and I think that was 2016. And I went to a Jiu Jitsu class, and I got hurt, so I stopped
What kind of
because
injury? What happened? I'm curious.
I got armbarred and I tapped, and the tap wasn't respected. So I felt some filaments in my shoulder. Weirdly, not my elbow, but my shoulder, just here. I felt filaments kind of like tearing a little bit, and I literally like, I don't know what I did. I like Hulk sat up and like punched this person. And like, I told you to
That's
fucking stop.
horrible.
Yeah.
I'm so
So
sorry.
It's okay, but I came back eventually, and I started my journey in November 2018.
Right.
Um, and yeah, been just going ever since. I was going at it hard initially. I was like doing, I think 5 days a week with like 4 hours of jujitsu on a Sunday. Just kind of like, you know how it happens, like
Oh,
where we just get
jujitsu. For
obsessed.
those that don't do jujitsu, it is hard to explain the personal obsession that starts to evolve. The more that jujitsu starts to mess around in your head, and you're like, "How come I couldn't do this? I wonder if I could do that." And da da da. And then you just want to see. I wonder if this person goes against that person, what'll happen? And you know what I mean. And next thing you know, like you are in. And
And
for
then if
those of
you
you, go ahead,
go
go
on,
ahead.
sorry.
If any of you wonder about why people love jujitsu, there's going to be a film about it, and she's in
Yeah,
this film.
I am, and
Pretty
so are
awesome.
you.
But your part's going to be a lot cooler than mine. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, being able to talk about stuff whilst having giraffes and ostriches and lions in the background, of course, is going to be kind of cool.
Pretty
But
awesome.
yeah,
But yeah, it's called Why I Roll. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be dope. Shout out to Michael and the whole squad for that. But at what point did you really discover that you learned it? Because like this whole thing about like you came back and you becomes obsessive. What do you think was there a moment? Was there a day? Was there a belt level? Was there an experience that you saw or observed? Like what made you go, ooh, I'm staying?
so, with the way I started jujitsu, because like I'm very fickle with
Mm,
things. Like if I don't like them, I'm just like, why am I doing this? This is a waste of time.
yeah,
So I
man.
forced myself to do 100 classes. Like I'm not allowed to quit until I've done 100 classes, because I felt like after 100 classes, I should be somewhat competent on the floor, and then
Mm,
also have a good idea as to whether like, oh, this is the sport for me or not.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, class 47 is when I went to my professor, Professor Bling, shout out to Robert Graham. I said, I need to bring this to Kenya. And he's like, yes, you do. And like, he supported me. So, having a black belt Jitsuka who was also a technician, before I knew that this was a thing that I was, because
Mm, I understand.
yeah, I feel there's different archetypes in jujitsu,
Yeah.
ranging from like jar-headed jabronis to, philosophical technicians and all in between. So, so he supported me. He's like, yeah, no, absolutely, take this, take it to Kenya, whatever it looks like, even if you stop after 100 classes,
Yeah.
he instilled this in me. You are very capable and competent in taking information and translating it into a simpler style for other people to understand.
Damn, Mo.
So I was a three
We just
stripe
became
white
family.
belt. No, but it is something I enjoy. Like literally, as a sound engineer, that's what I did in nightclubs and studios. I had to dumb down my understanding into layman's terms for my clients. You know, to tell them like, hey, the microphone doesn't work, and I'm gonna fix it. So if you just shut up for 10 minutes, that would be great. I can't tell them the technicalities because it would just be too much.
Right.
So yeah, so it was class 47 of 100 where I was just like, you know what? I'm staying. When it clicked for me, I honestly would say was when I spent 30 days out in Montana doing a Budokan camp
Mm,
thing with Cameron and Melaine Shane, because I was suffering from the Blue Belt Blues, the
yeah.
legendary Blue Belt Blues. And I'm just like, I suck. This is horrible. This is terrible. But I'm just going to carry on because I said I
Mm,
would. And when I came back from that, I was a menace on the mats. So it was
wow.
testament to like, if you're around people who are kind of like you tend to rise quicker.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I came
Yeah.
back and I was just inverting and inverted arm bars and just
It
doing
was on.
absolutely nefarious stuff. Yeah, and then I got my purple belt and I'm like, I'm not ready for this. What the hell?
Purple
Because
belt
that
is
was
such
four
a weird
years.
belt. Purple
It
belt is
is.
a weird belt because one, you can no longer pretend that you really don't know jujitsu, but so much jujitsu that you don't know is still real, right?
Yes.
This gap between like I'm good enough, but you know,
No.
is
No.
that Mars out there? Like far away? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's a big distance, but purple belt is a big deal. That's so cool. Now let me
It
ask you
is.
this. Why did you want to bring jujitsu to Kenya? Because it's a great idea, but what was the driving force for you?
I mean, it was a combination of things. Was this before or after? I think it was literally just before my mother suicided, and it's okay. I just was just thinking of the word because you don't use commit anymore, so
Yeah.
we verbalize it now. Um, so it was 2019, I think early 2019. I was kind of in the throes of it, and I was just like, yeah, I need to bring it home. And I think it was because I was just thinking long term, like where do I want to settle more, because I'm not British at all. I don't have a UK passport. Every time someone's like, oh, you're British, I'm like, no, I'm Dutch, Kenyan, you
Right.
know and
Right.
I have a Dutch passport and I'm Kenyan by birth, and that's literally who I am Israeli, but we don't talk about that. So from there I was just like, let me come home because that's where my family is. Like, America wasn't a place for me. Netherlands wasn't a place for me because I don't even speak the language. So why am I going to go there? And as a Kenyan girl doing martial arts, even though my genetic, like, hereditary line is full of badass women and we just take zero crap from anyone, I was like, I want to bring this back so there's more girls who can understand that, oh, hey, I'm actually capable. And it doesn't have to be capable of being a champion. I really don't care about competitions and championships, if I'm honest with you, right?
Yeah.
I just like that when I do martial arts, when I walk down the street, I can look at people, and I can look at men, or I can look at anyone who is looking at me in a bad way, and I'll just be like, you really don't want to approach me
Yeah,
badly.
yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I've tried to convey that, and it probably, for those that don't train or I've only seen martial arts in the movies, I think that that mindset feels or can feel by others to be arrogance, but it's really not. When I remember when I was still horrible at jujitsu, but I was training at house, pretty consistently, and inside that gym, everyone murdered me. I never pretended it was otherwise. However, I also understood that outside of the gym, I too was a killer. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I just wasn't the apex.
Then
I'm the apex around y'all, not inside there. You know what I'm saying? And so,
exactly.
and so I remember being with my ex-wife in different places and being able just to identify what are the postures of someone that can actually fight. What are the actual stances? What are the right? And then I could be like, no, 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 we're safe, or this could get crazy. Let's bounce, right?
Mm.
But either way, I was making a decision informed as someone who could actually defend themselves. You know what I mean in the situation, and I think that because of the movie, so few people get to feel that
Mm.
for themselves and be like, I mean, I don't want to fight anybody, but if it does go down, I think I've got a chance. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's a
Exactly. I mean,
huge thing. And for
I
to
never
feel that
think.
as a
Sorry.
woman is especially empowering, I believe.
It is. And I mean, because I teach self defense classes as well. Like, I teach here now and stuff. And I never kind of say, like, oh, this stuff will, like, 100% work. I'm like, no. The way I think of it is like, if I die, at least you'll have a memento of the one person that kind of fucked up your day, right? And that'll be with you for the rest of your life, because I will scratch and maim, and you'll
It'll
have,
go down.
you know,
You'll
full
feel it.
Joker stories of how did I get these scars. It's like, this one crazy bitch just absolutely lost her shit at me. I still managed to steal her watch, but at what cost? I don't know.
At what cost? Exactly.
Cost. So that's the mentality I have, and that's the mentality I give women. I'm just like, look, don't expect the stuff you see. As much as I love the Gracie breakdown stuff, don't take that cleanliness of the movement shown to be that's how it works in real life, because it doesn't. you know and you're
Mm,
gonna forget 98% of everything anyway, so just
this is true.
maim.
But that's why
That's all you
practice
gotta
is
do.
such a big deal. You're so right.
100%.
Oh my God, it's real. There's a guy, Cristiano. He's a black belt at Charles Gracie, and he has a saying, and he said, "Train like it matters because one day it will." Professor Cristiano, Charles Gracie. Train like it matters because one day it will. And I've been trying to say that to my kids' classes, because they're always goofballing. You know what I mean? There's whatever, and I'm like, bro, turn it down. Like, I've said before I started stealing Cristiano's line, uh, the phrase I would say is, you know, the move we're learning today could be the very move that you need to save your life or the life of someone you care about, like next
Mm.
week. So just let's focus. You know what I'm saying? And that
Yeah.
usually works. But that's such a cool mission to help women learn more jujitsu. I think that, um, I wish every woman on the planet could learn jujitsu. I mean, if I'm just being honest,
100%.
I really just 2 years. I'm not even talking about black belts. Just 2 years of jujitsu. So you
Hmm.
have a plan, right? So you have a plan. I think would change so much in the world. There's so much abuse. There's so many crazy stories. Like, we have our Epstein's, we have our Diddy's. We know these guys, right? We
Yeah.
know, right? And we know that, unfortunately, a lot of families, like, have a lot of abusers in them and stuff like that. And that's in every space, right?
Yeah.
Every religious and class level, every whatever. You know what I mean? And so, um, there's a lot of weird stuff that's been going on in jujitsu,
Yeah, there
and
has.
it's the truth is it's kind of new, but it's kind of not. When I say it's new, I mean jujitsu's just got enough momentum, so enough people know about it, so that these stories matter. But
Mm.
the actions I don't think are that new. I've heard different things about different schools for a long time, and the
Mm.
different things about different instructors for a long time. But I feel like it could be just access to the information, or it could be that with the growth of jujitsu, this problem also grows.
Yes.
And that is, this issue of abuse of women and girls by their instructors, and helped out by a lot of unfortunate enablers who I actually almost hate worse than the violators. I hate the enablers more.
Hmm.
Um, let's talk a little bit about some of the problems that are in this space right now for women and girls in jiu-jitsu and kids, and what do you think we can and should do to help enact a better authentic pivot
Yeah.
into culture.
I think so. Like with what's happening in the immediacy is not the first time. I think literally when we started talking in lockdown, there was an other scandal that was happening,
I think
right?
you're right. I think you're right.
Fight sports? Yes.
Yeah, it was Fight Sports. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. That was the first, I think, big national one. There were rumors here, rumors there, but that was the big one. You're right. Fight Sports.
Yeah. And the amount of and the only reason I'm remembering it and stuff is because it's quite close to home to um the first gym I started my jiu-jitsu journey with. And when I say quite close to home, I mean like very close to home. Like
Mm,
the gym was Fight Sports affiliated, and probably
wow.
still is, right?
Wow.
And I was very vocal during that time as well because I'm in this gym that is affiliated with this space that is currently being
Hmm.
absolutely and
Hmm.
rightfully, torn up. Right. And there was a couple of people they got it into, I think, the New York Post. That's how big it blew up at that time. Um, and, with all of that, it reached a point where other people were coming out with their stories as well. So there was a couple of coaches in the UK who kind of got dragged out as well, rightfully so.
Wow.
Um, and, I'd hate that people use the phrase, it's a Me Too moment, disparagingly.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
and it's like, no, no, no. It's a good thing. Like Weinstein got done because of that movement. So like, don't make it a bad thing. Um, but I did say at the time, like, it's all well and good that we've got this level of attention, but jujitsu, like every other sport on the planet, has a churn rate of new people coming and
Yeah.
going. So I said it would be 18 months, and I think it was about 20 months until basically, it had all died down or like people had forgotten or, it was small level conversations
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to, it should be at the front. But I don't hold back. Like if people ask me about that gym specifically, I'm like, you can go there. I wouldn't. And they're like,
Right.
why? And I just say everything.
Right.
you know.
Because, yeah. No, I mean, it's a really tough thing. And, one of the things that I think adds to it or can add to it at times is, so like when I was training with Charles, there was this one young woman, this black woman who came to train. And so one of the ways that Charles Gracie used to test the men in the room is he would say, "Hey, here's the new potential student. Her name is Jenny. Will you train with her?" If he saw a guy do anything half baked, there's a guy in every gym called the enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
The enforcer listens to the owner to help keep the culture on the mat fair and unsullied. So if someone's being a bully, if someone's, you know what I mean, like being too silly, if someone's being unsafe, the enforcer kind of handles that. If someone comes into the gym and is like, "Hey, I think your school sucks and I want to fight somebody," the enforcer will be the one to either do that fighting or pick somebody to fight that person.
Yep.
If you messed around and weren't present, kind, etc., and inviting, the enforcer would drag your life if Charles thought that there was anything half baked, which is a good way of being, in my opinion. But one of the things I noticed when helping this young woman was that when it was time to spar, she would go into this freeze. And I realized that she had been abused, right? I was like, okay, she has undergone some trauma. And I would kind of have to talk her into staying. I was like, no, everything's fine. Because you could see her body. She would, like, her eyes would get wide. And she was triggered. Yeah, I didn't have a word for it at that time, but she was triggered. And so I worked with her. And, after a couple months, she ended up quitting. But that was the first time I realized that, when women show up to jujitsu, it's not always because it's the cool thing. It's because they've been through something that they're really trying to never experience again. They're really, right? And, like, I think a lot of men, especially the single ones, are so unconscious of why a lot of women and girls come to jujitsu that they miss that cue. To me, it rings loud, but I think a lot of people don't consider that. Could you talk about that a bit, maybe?
Absolutely. So with, yeah, when if a woman comes into a gym out of her own volition, usually there's a story behind it, right? And it's usually a story of, like you say, childhood or even recent trauma of
Yeah,
varying levels. Like, it doesn't have to be big. It can just be, I don't want to even say tiny. Like, every single experience is valid. Yeah.
absolutely.
And one issue I've always had with instructors, especially, is like, if we do any other, I suppose, gym position or whatever, there's a certain level of certification that needs to happen, right,
Right.
for you to be able to do that role. And jiu-jitsu instructors don't need that. They're just a blue belt and they start instructing people, and
True.
they're focusing on like positions and stuff. And it's like, no, you have to understand the behavioral psychology of the mats, and especially with women when they come in. And, I teach women's classes here, and I always tell people, like, look, today we're gonna do X position. Like, I prepare them so they can mentally understand, are they okay with that? Like, in their body, like, someone is going to sit on your chest. Are you okay with that? If
Right.
you're not, I want you to understand that it's always okay. You can just tap out for a second and catch a couple of breaths, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of spaces don't create that one. With traveling, I noticed that, people, the counter I've had for this is people say, like, that's too much pandering. They should come in and be able to handle their own shit and just figure it out. And I'm like,
Yeah, but they're
no,
not, though.
they don't know.
But
They
they're
don't know
not.
anything, right? If you put your hand on someone's neck, right, without them understanding what's going on, they will have a meltdown. If you don't know, that's a huge trigger point, and it's a huge trigger point for a lot
That's a
of
big
women.
deal. That is a
You
really
know,
big deal. Um,
so it's always been with. I've noticed with places that have dads, girl dads, they tend to have a far better mastery of this with women. Which is, it's not 100%, but it's just like something that I've
yeah,
seen
yeah,
is
yeah.
more
More often
common.
than not, that can be the case. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
But I think there needs to be more conversation for sure, but more education on how to make a space good for women to develop themselves, whatever that looks like. You
Okay,
know,
so can we talk a bit about what does that look like to you? What do you think are some fundamental things that make it easier for women to feel seen and welcome?
yeah. So I teach an introduction to fundamentals class. Like literally, this is the step before even the beginners class,
Hmm.
for women, and we just literally go through all the basic positions of jujitsu,
Hmm.
and we introduce them, and then we stitch them together, and then we play games through them, kind of thing. Because I personally feel like if you understand what's going on, then you panic less, right? So if
Absolutely.
someone's on your chest, you're like, okay, this is called mount, and I got told I should protect my neck if they're at this position, and then I should consider like they're probably going to go for an armbar if they're higher or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
If they understand that, and I've seen them go from panic to, oh, this is actually okay. I'm fine if I just do this.
Yeah.
Um, it means when they go into the beginners class, if it's a not great beginners class, because that's a whole other thing where beginners programs are really trash the way they're
Yeah.
designed. At least a woman can go in and be like, okay, I'm used to all the basic positions and I can manage that. I know what I'm capable of
Right.
there. So I really think something like that, either as its own thing, but I know a lot of gyms can't afford to do that, or something that is baked into the beginners coaches to be
Hmm.
like, when you have women coming into the class, right, train your students who are already part of that class how to deal with a new person, how to deal with a new woman, right?
Right.
And start educating the idea of sensitivities. It's not cotton wooling someone, right? It's just paying attention to very obvious triggers that might exist, but also giving them space for them to deal with stuff if you don't understand what's going on. Because a lot of people aren't going to pick up on any cues, right? But if you just say, hey, look, we're going to train today, and if at any point you feel you need to tap, that's fine, and it doesn't have to make sense. And if you just need to go sit in the corner, that's totally okay, and I totally understand. Something like that, would be ideal
No, I think
to
that's
start off
smart.
with.
Yeah, I think that's smart. There's so much that like I said, so many different women, I think they come to the gym with these different needs and desires to get mastery themselves, to not feel scared anymore, to not feel intimidated, right? And it's interesting because the men are so unconscious that they don't always recognize that they're there for the same reasons.
Absolutely.
It's the same
Absolutely.
reason,
Dude,
right?
the erratic white belt man is always the most interesting as a purple belt now. Like, when you get
Yeah,
a new, as a woman, when a new guy comes in and he's a white belt and he's like, yeah, I'm fit, I can do blah, 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 da, da, da. And they get bodied by someone like me. I'm not big. I'm
right.
5'6", right? 65 kg, which is like 143 pounds, right? But I'm strong as hell. Like I don't look as strong as I am, and
Right.
I will just like ragdoll a guy if they're too sporadic. No, but like I'm very soft and gentle. But if I tell you like 2 times to chill out and you don't,
Then I got to give you the business.
but then exactly right. And then as I'm doing it to them, I watch them kind of like change. I'm like, ooh. Then I like kind of pull off a little bit because, like you
Yeah.
say, dudes come in and they don't really realize maybe they have their own kind of traumas of like their brothers bullying the crap out of them,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
in
exactly.
school, or their
Yeah.
father just always told them
Dads.
he was never good enough,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of jazz. So it's both ways, but guys just don't aren't allowed to connect to their feelings so much. So jujitsu kind of gives them a way to manage it, sort of. That's why they
Yeah, I
say it's
think
therapy.
jujitsu definitely gives them, I think allowed sounds like a good word. I think taught is the word. We don't
Mm,
teach men. They're allowed, but we don't teach them,
yes.
right? Like they'll figure it out is the wrong way. And it is unfortunately the way of the West. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. Everybody doesn't figure it out. And you know what? Help them by just telling them now. That's what you do. Just tell them now. We
Absolutely.
don't have to let them figure it out. And so this is hold on, allergy break. Allergies. Um and so, you
Oh yeah,
know,
spring's coming. I forget.
yeah,
That's the thing.
it is upon us. And so, one of the things that, like, I think it's important that schools that can, when I say schools that can, I mean schools that have the space, like, should make sure that there are women's only classes. I think
Hmm.
it's really important, um, for women to be able to acclimate among themselves in the sport, because everybody's not ready for, you know, Crazy Larry every class. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not ready for Crazy Larry. And Crazy Larry sometimes should just be over there. You know what I mean? Why do could you talk for a bit about why women's only classes are important?
Sure. So the most obvious one for me, because of like where I live and everything, is religion.
Mm-hmm.
Because we do have a Muslim population here.
Mm-hmm.
I hear the call to
Call to
prayer
prayer.
a couple
Yeah.
times out of my balcony. So I don't think women should have less access to things because of the religion they choose to follow. But
Hey.
even in Kenya, like it's quite conservative as well. Like, so for the idea of a woman to go to a class and have a man that's not her husband or partner, sat on top of her, you know,
Yeah.
that's an intense conversation to have over dinner. So how was Jim? Oh yeah, I had Stephen. He was just sat on my chest for 20 minutes.
Like
Like
what?
that.
Yeah.
Who? Why? Why was he sitting on your chest? You know,
Yeah.
so that's one thing. It's going to be weird like that. And then, as you're saying, like the intensity of, I mean, jujitsu is a very intimate sport. Okay.
Period.
If
It's point blank physical contact. It's
very
point blank.
hugely. And going from maybe, oh, I did a boxing class in the gym, right? To, okay, so the first position we're going to do is full mount or full back take, right? And you're
Yeah.
having someone whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
freak out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, a women's class is important for women to see, understand, and process like what jujitsu actually is,
Mm.
because watching it and being in it are two very different things. So the women's class gives them ability to do that, but it also gives women the ability to ask questions and say things that they probably wouldn't be comfortable with
Totally.
saying
Yeah.
in
No,
front of
that's
men,
real. That's
you
real.
know.
You know,
So
that's real.
go on.
No, I'm just, yeah, I'm with you.
Like there's this experience. The first experience I had being in an all women's space actually happened when I was still in the UK. So I was at London Fight Factory, kind of like it's a full spit and sawdust. It's like
Mm,
only the strong survive. Like
yeah.
it's a hardcore kind of space. And when you say that place over there, people are like, oh shit, you wouldn't trade there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went to a Gracie Baja space for my sins, but I liked their curriculum setup. So that's something that people like sometimes is knowing a
Yeah.
curriculum, a 16-week repeatable
Yeah.
A-B split of the week. I needed that to start off
Right.
with. And there were ladies' classes at Gracie Baja, but I went to a women who fight
Oh, that's right. Women Who
afternoon.
Fight. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
God.
yeah,
Are
yeah.
they still
So
around? I totally remember them.
they are. So it's kind of grown, and now they kind of focus more on retreats and stuff because the
Right.
two ladies that is Shakti and Mav, they
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
founded that, and there's been what they've done has now encouraged more cluster organizations to grow as well.
Yeah.
So
So
which
women.
proves like
So
this
it's
is
at
important.
Women Who Fight still, right, on IG.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. You have to go check that out. Everybody should follow that page for sure.
And it was the best experience I ever had. I remember, I think it was not the first one, which was at, I think, Fight Zone, but I think the second one I went down to Brighton to, what's the gym called? I can't
Artemis.
remember.
Is it Artemis?
No, no, it's Centerline?
Okay.
Centerline Brighton, I think.
Okay.
It probably isn't. I'm forgetting it. Anyway, I went there and I was having the most debilitating period cramps known to mankind. And I have endometriosis, I have fibroids, all of this kind of stuff,
It's
which
all that. Yeah.
I don't care. I will tell anyone who doesn't want to listen, I'm like, you're going to listen because I'm suffering, so you need to suffer too.
You're
But being in that in that space, I said, hey, look, I'm a little bit lucid because my period is super heavy. I've taken cocodamol, so just be a bit gentle. Please, no knee on belly today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Please.
everyone was just so understanding. They're like, okay, cool. Do you need anything? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, oh, this is so nice. Like, I don't have to have my armor on, right? I
Right,
know
right,
I'm a
right,
very
right.
strong, capable woman, but like, I literally said, I'm like, yo, this is so nice. Like, I can just be soft and we can
Yeah,
murder each other, but I can just be soft. And, you
yeah,
know, if someone's going to have a little cry, we can have a little cry because, like, jujitsu is quite emotional sometimes, you know? And we did. Women had all sorts of things happening in that space and, like, being exposed to, I think there was a good 30 of us,
yeah,
30 women
yeah,
in that space. I was so overwhelmed with, like, this is what jujitsu can do for women, you know. And he had black belts. I think like even Nia Blackman was there and her
yeah,
sister, and there's a lady that I know online. Her name's Peach State, but like there's a lot of like high level black belts who were there,
yeah,
brown belts, purple belts, and it got so big with women who fight that we had you know, competition prep for women, right?
yeah.
At the Gauntlet in Ealing, I think
Okay.
was one I attended. And it got so big, I think there was literally maybe 40 or 50 of us that we had the white and blue belts on one side, and then the brown and purple belts were on another side, and then the black belts.
Oh,
It
that's
was big enough for that separation to
that's
happen.
lit.
Seriously. And just, yeah, I mean, I was just having a good time. I wasn't really trying to do anything. I was just like, I'm just so happy that this
It's even
exists.
happening like this right now. That's
Seriously.
cool.
So I know I've deviated hugely, but like that all starts with a woman's class, you know, having that. And then the next thing I'm going to add on top of that is having a gym admin department, like all the kind of back end logistics, whatever people, including the coaches, but having that part of the gym over support the women's classes. Not
Yeah.
just support, but over
Over
support
support.
because
So what does over
the
support look like though?
over support means you are very vocal in reminding people about the women's classes. When you're in the mixed classes, you know, if you know any of the male students have female partners or wives or
Right, right,
cousins
right.
or sisters or
Daughters.
whatever, daughters, everything, you know, the coach needs to remind the students that this class exists. They need to remind the students the importance of this, right? Even the mothers, like if they decide to do like a Mother's Day, because that's just happened, you know, workshop or whatever, or just class, an introduction
Yeah.
to mother's jujitsu, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, you know, there needs to be an active planning of being proactive with the women's classes and stuff because it does sometimes fall by the wayside. And
Yeah.
then what you get is like you'll get a small handful, and this is what I'm having at the moment. You'll have a small handful of people who just really enjoy the class because of the way it's taught, and you know,
Yeah.
for religious reasons, that's all they can dedicate to.
Yep.
And then you get the other women who, you know, have found themselves, have found their voice, and they're like, you know what, I need more intensity, so I'm going to go move to the mixed class.
Yeah.
Fine,
Some do a
fine.
little half and half. Like they'll go get their stuff from the women's class, go test it out in the men's class, come back, report. You know what I
And that's
mean?
what I get. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I get. And
Yeah.
usually they come back because they're like, I need you specifically, because I'm the highest ranked woman
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Kenya.
Yeah.
I need you specifically to murder me. And I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. I'm like, we're friends. Just remember that. And then like, you know,
Here comes the
and then they're
storm.
like, yeah. And they're literally, and they're like, okay, what happened? And I'll tell them how things didn't work because I'm very technical and I enjoy doing that. So having the support, you know, marketing, showing up online, showing up in person, all that kind of jazz is really, really important in encouraging women to come to that space because if they don't even know the importance of a women's class, they probably won't show up anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
No, no, no. I think that's important. So, you talked a bit about like the certifications that people should have in jujitsu schools. I definitely believe that like we need something in the space. It's interesting for me because I've worked in high schools and elementary schools and volunteered in juvenile halls for many, many years. So in America, we have what's called a live scan. A live scan is a background check. You have a state, you have an FBI level, right? I've been through so many of those. You have to do them all the time, right?
Yep.
Like you have one, you don't have it for a year or two. If we go to another school, you got to do another live scan, right? It's always like a new thing. Um, and then inside the schools in recent years, they have this other thing called a mandated reporter. I don't know if you know what those are, but in
Yes.
America, as a mandated reporter, you have to report stuff if you find out about it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it is. So like if I'm at a school and a kid tells me my dad's been abusing me, I have to tell. Like it's not about like, oh, okay, Jimmy, you know what I'm saying, we'll figure it out. It's like if Jimmy tells me or if Jimmy has marks and you're like, I think something's going on, I have to report it up, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and then in the UK they have the DBS, which is basically like a live scan, right? You have like,
Yeah,
do you have two? Do you have two level? DBS
we
has two
do.
levels.
Yeah, so I teach kids. I used to teach kids in the UK, and then I was in gyms, and I worked in rock climbing gyms and stuff as well.
Yeah.
So you have your standard DBS, and then you have your enhanced DBS. So the enhanced DBS is what is needed for uh, teaching children or being around children. Um,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I mean, I think I read someone say like even the live scan is just a way to prove that you haven't been caught, which is the most cynical thing to say,
Well,
but I'm like, it's
it is an
true.
interesting thing, right? It proves that there's no charges pending, that there's
Yeah.
no, you know what I mean? And so that's the thing though, right? It's like, and sometimes with any given system there will be, gaps, right?
Mm.
And it is true. If someone has not been caught, they will not be in the system. But if
Hmm.
there are pending charges, if there are, right? And so I think that some of these things are absolutely necessary. I think Gracie Baja has, I know, to do whatever their like teacher certification thing is to
Hmm.
be able to teach, you have to go through a thing, and part of that deals with, understanding, recognizing, and reporting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, Abuse and things like that. But and I know a lot of people don't like GB for a ton of reasons or whatever, but I do think that that is an incredibly forward thinking and honorable way of for that team to function because so few do. I also think like live scans are they're very expensive,
Yeah.
right? And it's very hard to get schools going as it is. And I always felt like the pushback would be like, well, if every time I get a new instructor, I have to get a live scan, I'll drown because schools are so fickle and things like
Mm.
that. But that made me be like, all right, well, there's got to be though a solution between what's happening right now and nothing. There's got to be an actionable
Something.
thing between where we are now and nothing, right?
Yeah.
We've got all of the issues at Atos,
Hmm.
ATOS, look into it. It's crazy. We've got the checkmat accusations. Look into
Yeah.
it. It's crazy. You got B team, different crazy rumors and accusations. Look into it. It's crazy. You got Kingsway. What's that guy? Isaac Michelle or whatever, and he's on the
Yeah.
run, I think. Right? Look into it. It's crazy. Right? These are the four right now. Oh my God, stories in jujitsu.
Yep.
It's not okay. And so I struggle as a black belt instructor, as a kids instructor, as someone who is taught. I taught women at a Muslim college,
Mm.
and so the way that I did this, because you're not really supposed to be touching and all this other stuff, is I had my daughter come with me. So I would
Nice.
work with my daughter, and the women would sit in a circle around me.
Hmm.
And so I would have my daughter do the move on me. I would do the move on my daughter. This is how we do it. And then they would work in their pairs. And I'd be like, oh, you want your hand further into the collar, turn to the right. Oh, you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
spar, things like that. Like, we have to be more forward thinking about how we as men help women and girls get used to grappling. We have to
Hmm.
be innovative. I thought of that on my own because I was like, oh man, how do we do this? Because I can't be tussling, right? So how do we do it? And that was the solution I came up with. And my daughter and I, she was a teenager at the time, like 16 years old. It perfectly worked. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But like we have to be trying to be more innovative, and we have to start trying to raise the bar. And I'm talking to all the men in the space because I just think that there's a genuine lack of sincere effort to understand.
Hmm.
Just effort to understand, not change a thing.
Agreed.
All men, we need to do better, right? Because you got to remember, however cool you are, however good you are, however capable you feel in this moment, your daughter, your wives, your aunts, your grandmothers, all that, they will be affected by the men who learn jujitsu if they don't have a high end of character and if they don't understand what the responsibility of having skills in this space mean, right? So we need to elevate the character of the men in the space, of the boys in the space, so that we're all on the same page, and helping to inspire peace and safety. Like I really feel that way. I think this has been a problem for a long time, and I'm
Hmm.
not sure what the potential solutions are, but I know they exist. It's just an
Indeed.
issue of who what will need to happen until we force the hand. Like how are you feeling about all these crazy scandals, and what does that tell you about where we are in the culture?
So even from like the fight sports time, and honestly even before that, I'm very much a fan of using both of these and less of this.
Yeah.
So I like to listen a lot more than I speak, and I like to use my eyes as well. I like to observe a lot more than I say things. And people just come up and tell me stuff. I'm like, why are you telling me? Like, you don't know me. They just tell me everything. And something I actually wanted to ask you about, because this is like, I've got female insight, but you have male insight,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
as you are a black belt as well,
Yeah.
there's this hierarchy of power that
Right.
exists, in
Right.
addition to what I like to call community chemicals, because
Okay.
that's what we get off the mats, right? Your dopamine,
Yeah.
oxytocin, serotonin, and adrenaline, right?
Yeah.
The
Pumping.
most potent like combinations. Just it's insane. But I call it community chemicals because that's why we're all, we all love jujitsu so much,
Yeah.
because of all of that stuff that we get. We get that hit every time we're on the mats.
Yeah.
So adding having that in mind, and then we talk about hierarchy of power. What I mean about hierarchy of power is if you are perceived to be in a position of importance, in a
Yeah.
position of knowledge, in a position of control and command,
Yeah.
there's a unfortunate primal kind of like switch that happens in certain people where they accept to be subservient
For
to
sure.
someone of a higher
For
power.
sure.
And in jujitsu, even more so, because a white belt is gonna look at a black belt like a freaking unicorn
Yeah, yeah,
fairy
yeah. They
thing.
think that they're talking to Miyagi, like straight up.
Yeah, and even a purple belt. Like I remember when I looked at purple belts, I was just like, oh my god,
Yeah, purple belts were gods. You're like,
literally. And now I'm a purple belt. I'm like, I'm a worm. Don't look at me. Like I just got a really good turtle guard. I'm not even like don't like
it
I'm a
might be
defensive
questionable
thing.
on Wednesdays for we still don't know, right? It's like,
But you don't know until you're in it, right? You
it's
don't know
true.
what you don't know. So my question is like, do you think that there needs to be more education for men to understand this hierarchy of power
Yes.
in the jiu-jitsu space? Because women women kind of get it, but some women don't, and they fall foul of
Yeah.
the chemical kind of cocktail because it's very very heady, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
connections on the mat sometimes, we make jokes about like, don't DM
Yeah,
the
yeah,
female mat partner and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Which is funny, but also don't do it, guys. Don't do
Please
it,
don't.
okay? It's innocent. No, it's not. It's creepy.
Yeah.
But being able to understand that nuance of what's creepy and what is just being okay, but also understanding, even as a blue belt, if you're a one stripe blue belt to a brand new person, you still have a certain level of
You still do. Yeah.
importance. So, yeah, do you think that somehow? I mean, it's usually the main head coach who has to teach, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
fish rots from the head.
Yeah.
Do you think that needs to be more prevalent in like just teaching guys how to?
No question. I think society in general needs to consider the women of any given society they live in. Like it is for jujitsu because jujitsu is close contact martial arts, but it's an all society thing everywhere all the time. That's what I think. Specific to jujitsu, I know that has to happen. Um, I wish it did happen, but this is also part of why, and I hate banging this drum, but I'm gonna keep banging it. Is that this is why I talk about the importance of philosophy in jujitsu. People talk to me all the time and be like, "Oh yeah, he wants to talk about Stoic stuff. Oh yeah, he wants to talk about philosophy. Oh yeah, he wants to talk about Taoism or Sufism or something, dude. Like, who cares, bro? Let's just roll." And it's like, no, no,
It's important.
because this matters. And then what'll happen is, oh, this is our Me Too moment. Da da da. Like, yes and no, right? Like, I agree to a degree. I don't agree to another degree, but understand why it gets said, right? Basically, it means it's really bad, guys. It's not cool. Stuff's gone wrong, right? And so, to that degree, I agree. I agree. I think that it's not because it's like, again, this isn't the first time. It's been around for a while. People have been ignoring for so long, and there's a choice to not be conscious here that we're riding with, and we need to not. So when I talk about the importance of philosophy in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's because once you know how to really harm people, how your character is becomes more important than the techniques that you know. So if you don't think it's important that women, children, animals, and the elderly, if you're not conscious of why they need to be and feel safe at all times, and that you need to be an instrument of reinforcing that safety without being a weirdo about it, that's important. I'm not saying people have to be Stoics. I'm not saying they have to be Muslim or Christian or something, but you are something. All of us are something. And as you grow in your technique, you should be studying more than technique, because who you are is revealed so much more when you can fight better, because you get more comfortable with who you are. But if who you are isn't balanced, isn't healthy, isn't trying to be healthy, is unable to listen, is unable to have empathy for people who are not like them, then your jujitsu will probably be a problem for the community, and it won't be an asset. And so these are the things that I struggle with inside the jujitsu space. But truth is told, I wrote about this in 1997, 1998.
Wow.
And people said you're overdoing it. And at that time, I'm a white belt. So it's easier, right, to be like, dude, you actually suck at the sport, and you're not a philosopher, bro. You're not Socrates. Shut up, right? And like I understand that, but every time these things happen, I'm like, what did I
It's the
say
same
though?
thing.
What did I
It's the
say
same
though?
thing.
You know what I mean? And so it's
Sure.
like men have to take themselves seriously. I think the thing is that men, like I could say, men, you need to take women more seriously, and they do, but it's a byproduct of men taking themselves seriously first. If you don't take yourself seriously, like how many times does a man say, when I'm in a room, how do the women in the room respond to my entry into that space?
They don't.
Do they feel safe? Does a woman who doesn't feel safe because of another man in the room or a group of men in the room, do they feel like they can come to me and say, "Hey, um, I don't know who those guys are, but like it seems like," and do they believe that you will be the person to help give them emotional, mental, or if need be, physical protection in those times, right? Like, if you make a woman feel uncomfortable on the mat, do you have enough of a relationship with them for that woman to be like, "Hey, when we were grappling, I just want to say," right? Can you
Yep.
like these are the things that men need to think about more seriously when they're on the mat, right? Like remember that every woman on the mat is somebody else's daughter, aunt, cousin, mom, granny, whatever. And so you need to be thinking, if that was your daughter, cousin, aunt, mom, granny, how would you want them to be treated on the mat?
Yep.
How would you want them to feel after class? Right? That's a big deal. I talk to the kids about that a lot too, because sometimes kids can be like, if they don't know the move, they just try and hurt them or lean on them or squeeze because they don't really know the move. And I'm like, how do you help other kids feel the way you want to feel leaving class? This is important, and
And I
so it's
I'd probably interject and
yes,
before because we're going to go off, and there's a little thing I want to
yeah,
say, because again, there should be a book called like "Don't Read the Comments," but um, with a lot of what's happening at the moment, a lot of men will say keep the genders separate,
right,
right, as a solution, and I just think a phrase to use, and it's going to upset some people, the weaponized incompetence that's observed in these solutions as well is part of the problem. Like if a man truly believes the solution to all the stuff that's happening is just to separate the genders, I believe that man is kneecapping himself from the ability to actually develop himself as a person.
A hundred million percent.
You know?
Yeah,
So it
no
really
doubt.
upsets me when men are like, oh well, women shouldn't train with men; they should train with each other. I'm like, you're literally missing the point. Like, yes, we compete against each other, but the whole point of jujitsu is for it to be mixed gendered, and it does work. If you're
And
not a
it's
shithead,
important.
it works.
Yeah, it's important. I think that the bottom line is we should try to have um, spaces where everybody can learn equally with an equal level of personal peace. You know what I mean? Bottom line is like there's a there's a jujitsu school in Qatar that's all women all the time. And I remember a while ago, like a few months, one of those women got their black belt, and someone said,
I remember
"This
this.
woman
Yeah.
is like the first woman to get a black belt from only training with women only, right?" And I saw guys go on, "Well, maybe her black belt isn't fully authentic if she hasn't sparred with a guy, and that might be troublesome, right?" And it's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, what are you talking about? That is one of the coolest things to happen in the history of jiu-jitsu.
For
That
sure.
is really cool. But the thing is I think, however, whatever environment is ideal for the person to stay in the sport and grow in the sport is what's best. As long as it's not obviously openly abusive in some way, let it ride. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I think again, like we talked at the beginning, women and girls need their own space. You know what I'm saying? To study, to train, to roll. And if periodically they want to come out and go against a boy, like what better feeling is there than to see a girl, sometimes a smaller girl, roll with a boy and beat that kid technically? That is one of the coolest things to observe ever. When a girl walks up and is like, "Whooshow," and throws that dude, and even if he survives the moment, like it's not about the kid, like the boy losing, but it's about the girl knowing in my body and in my mind I have the capability to be physically superior and technically superior in this moment. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I can do my train, that is one of the coolest, most empowering things to ever see girls and women express themselves, right? And
Yeah.
so, um, yeah, we need to do a lot more work. There's a book. There's a book on trauma. It's like a trauma informed jujitsu book. Oh man, I've only listened to about half of it. It's pretty good. But I think that like we need to be having more of these kind of conversations. We need to be having more of these kinds of discussions, and we need to be watching. Like it's weird though because like we've got to create a situation like where there's some type of maybe do we need a new database? Do we need a
I think
database
so.
so jujitsu schools can check and say, hey, this guy's coming here. We don't know. Like, and then how do we what do we discern the line is between what we want so that we can know, and then like what could just be rumor mill stuff that wrecks somebody that they really didn't do anything. Like it get like we need tangibles, right? We
Agreed.
need tangibles. I don't want people to get swept in by a firestorm and be unable to um I'm looking for this jujitsu book on Sony.
It's fine. I'm
But
gonna
like
add a thing in here, just because you were talking about like women kind of being inspired. So one of my first professors, one of my first coaches at Gracie Baja was a female black belt or lady black belt, and she was like 5 foot nothing, right?
mm-hmm.
And she was pancake flipping these like 6'2" black belt professors as well, right? Because she inspired me because like she's like, you have zero excuse. I'm like, I don't, because you're literally 5 foot, barely 5 foot, maybe 5 foot on
Right?
a good day, and she was just flipping everybody, flippity doo. Like I learned acro jujitsu from her because she just would do it to me too.
Right. Just
Um, literally just her feet. And now I'm in the air, and like she got me used to being flipped over because that's what she used to enjoy doing to people. So 100%, like I think black belt women professors or coaches or whatever you want to call them
Right.
is super crucial. And I
It's a
actually
big
have a
deal.
question about
Yes.
professors in a second, but once you found the book,
Okay.
we can
Okay.
talk
The
about it.
book is called Transforming Trauma with Jiu-Jitsu. I'm blind. I need new glasses. Jamie Marish, Marich, Jamie Marish, and Anna Pirkle, Pirkl. Okay.
Nice.
Transforming Trauma with Jiu-Jitsu, a guide for survivors, therapists, and jiu-jitsu practitioners to facilitate embodied recovery. It's a good book,
I will get
right?
that. Everyone
And
should get that.
yeah, yeah, it's really awesome. You were saying,
Yeah, so now I have a question because with everything that's going on,
right?
um, the common denominator that is happening with these reports from the women who are brave enough to stand up is
Yeah,
a certain level of grooming, right?
yeah,
So
100%.
either it's in with ATOS, there's the alleged, I have to put that in there,
Right.
grooming from a younger age all
Yeah,
the way up until being an adult. So
yeah.
a child doesn't know what's going on. They don't,
They totally don't, and they've got
right?
that admiration stuff that we talked about already. Default set.
Exactly. So you've got that side of things. Then you have this other lady. She's been releasing the video. I don't know if you've seen the actual videos of this black belt being physically abusive to her.
No.
She's a full grown adult, and she came to jiu-jitsu because she wanted to do self-defense,
Right.
and she
Right.
was being trained by this black belt. I can't remember the names for love nor money, but
No,
it's
it's
literally
fine.
right now kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
out there. But this black belt started dating her, right? And he literally is so abusive. Like there's physical marks that she has. She's got videos of him like grabbing a hammer in her house, and there's other videos of him breaking into her house while she's in bed and just literally going to
oh,
attack
that's
her.
frightening.
You know,
That is
it
frightening.
it it's terrifying. But the fact that she has video footage of this and there's still deniers in the comment section absolutely
Oof,
blows my
that
mind.
always blows my mind. It's
But
crazy.
the main question I have here is for professors. The cultural background of black belts
Yeah.
cannot be ignored sometimes.
Right.
But how do people close to these professors and these coaches and stuff, and I think you said this right at the beginning, which is why I want to kind of bring it out now. How do people nearby who see these things going on, actually start to address it? Because if you're, say you're the top champion competitor of the gym and you're really close to the professor, but you
Right.
see them giving extra special treatment to a girl because, oh, she's so good, she'll be so good
Right.
for the
Right.
competition team, and then that person's spidey senses is going off, going like, there's there's being approving of someone, and then there's kind of
Right.
being you're grooming. Like, how
Right.
do you address that? Because that's what a lot of us see, or a lot of guys don't want to see,
So
right?
here's the
And they
deal.
should.
I thankfully have not seen that in my personal journey, but there's also no question that it happens because it's everywhere. Like it's not even like a thing. So is the question, how do we stop it? That's the question.
It's a, how do we stop it, but how do we create a counterculture of informing, like, say you've never seen it, but you probably know guys in other spaces, and you should probably have a conversation like, hey, have you ever seen like anyone be creepy to your sister or your friend or whatever? But it
Right, right,
shouldn't be
right. And
that
start seeing
connected.
what that, yeah, see what that kind of
Start
looks like.
encouraging that conversation, and like I feel
Yeah,
like that's one of the solutions is creating bro talk or whatever
yeah, yeah,
around that, but also having actionable solutions and steps onto, like, if someone is being creepy in the male changing room, nip it in the bud.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
how is it possible? So it's just something
I
that's in my
think that
head.
I think that ultimately, tragically, look, it's the responsibility of the black belt to stay aware of that stuff. Period. It's the
Hmm.
responsibility of the black belt to try and create a culture where people feel like telling that instructor what's up if something else is going on. Um, like I said, I got lucky in my thing. I have in my journey, I haven't seen it, but I also know there's too many other journeys where it's not cool. I think
Mm,
another thing is that as a black belt, you need to think about the kind of boundaries that you want to have with your students, right? Because one of the problems is that a lot of these things happen because people get too comfortable. The student gets too comfortable with the instructor, the instructor gets too comfortable with the student, and then because there is an alliance around the learning, it can blur alliances emotionally and otherwise in other spaces. And so I think that I I always thought it was a little strange if someone dates their student as an instructor. I always thought
yep.
that.
Yep.
99 times out of 100, I think that is a recipe for disaster. But I have a few friends I know that are couples, and that's how they met, and it ended up going, really well. Um, but I think that it's something that I have not done, would never do. I would never date anybody that I taught because I think it would ruin that person's ability to learn efficiently, and that's what's more important to me, right?
For
Is that
sure.
people learn efficiently, right? But I think that so much of what we talk about when we talk about grooming is about frequency of contact off the mat, limited understanding of what we should and should not be talking about off the mat. You know what I mean, and things like that. Um, that's a big deal, right? And so, you have to be mindful as an instructor about what you don't talk about on the mat, and if someone's like, hey, is this? Someone sends you a video, hey, is this move cool? Oh yeah, it is, or it isn't, or whatever. But then, like, if we go from that to talking about like dating and all that other stuff, it's gonna get weird, right? So you want to keep it, yeah, that's the move, or that's not the move, or you know what I'm saying? If I think too, in America, and I know I was guilty of this. I think this happens in America and probably in the UK, but it's a part of martial arts in general because of movies, and I've talked about this 100 times, like the Karate Kid and things like that. There is a stereotype of what a black belt instructor is supposed to give you, right? This idea that this person who can fight can make you a philosopher. This person who can fight can make you more ethical. This person who can fight is qualified to help you heal yourself physically and spiritually in all these ways. And all the black belt means is that they've done enough of that sport to get the highest rank. It doesn't mean anything necessarily about their character. It doesn't mean they're necessarily a good person. It doesn't mean they understand empathy. It doesn't mean they understand trauma and trauma informed ways of engaging people, right? And so, you know, I grew up on that stereotype, hoping to be some living fragment of it in real life. But
Yeah.
everybody isn't that. And I tell people all the time, yeah, I like Stoic philosophy and stuff. I'm not like anybody that you should absolutely listen to about life advice. I'm not absolutely anybody that you should listen to about religion or whatever. These are some of my other hobbies that I like to talk about. You know what I'm saying? But you should go read on those topics. You should go
Yeah.
study on those topics. Like, that's your job to do on your time. And so, to get back to this thing about grooming, we need to make sure that as leaders of gyms, and that as men, we're making sure that we are giving anybody who comes into the space the emotional and psychological space to just learn the art and leave at will. Like, that's really like my thing. Is I think that getting too emotionally caught up in any of your students' presence in any of your students' lives is just an unhealthy way of being.
I agree. I'll probably add into that for women who are joining and for women who are established in jiu-jitsu as well, to not be afraid to talk to each other. I mean, we do anyway, but to feel safe, and women really need to do this, and I'm not talking about the girls thing. I find that weird.
Yeah.
But to be safe enough for anyone, any woman to be like, X person was rolling with me and like he was a little bit more touchy feely. He was touchy
Yeah.
feely, not even a little bit more touchy feely, you
Right.
know. and then ask like, oh, what did he do? He's like, oh yeah, like when we were on mount, like his hands were just kind of like very low on my chest unnecessarily,
Mm-hmm.
right? And don't shame it, don't mock it, don't just take that on
Right.
board and be like, cool, I'll just take it up with the head coach, not
Yeah.
even the instructor of
Exactly.
the class, just literally just go straight to the highest
Yep.
person possible,
Exactly.
or the person who's more responsible for well-being. Because sometimes when there's co-owners in gyms and stuff, like you'll have maybe like a husband and wife situation,
Yeah.
um, and it should, little asterisk by this,
Yeah.
because right
Should.
now that's not happening, but it should be a case where if there's a husband and wife dynamic, if these kind of situations happen, then you go to the wife and hopefully she's in a position of power where she can
Yep.
help influence that. If not, I mean, double prong the situation anyway, like go to both people, because the head coach will deal with the instructors
Yep.
and hopefully tell them to be like, hey, keep an eye, this is the feedback I'm getting in your class, reinforce that in the mount position, hand positions should be for
Yeah.
XYZ,
That's and so. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and then women should also find, not feel, but find potentially guys that they roll with to also be like, hey, like is Marcus kind of a bit of a touchy feely person, you know,
Right.
and then to be like, yeah, he's a bit touchy feely, what's
Right.
up? Why? What's up? It's
Right.
like, yeah, well, I just feel kind of uncomfortable when I roll with him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if they can share that with a guy, and guys know how to process that information, don't go all gung ho crazy like I'm gonna go mess up Marcus's day or whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Like,
go break
just
Marcus's arm tomorrow. Actually.
yeah, right. You don't need to do that, Just be a guy's guy, I guess, and
Yeah. And be observant. Be mindful. Right. You know
that's
what I
it.
mean?
And just watch his rolls a little bit more. And then when you roll
Yep.
with him, maybe make a joke like, "Hey, Marcus, like you need to buy me dinner first. Like we're not that kind of way. You need to ease up on your touching. Something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
clever about it, but pull
Yeah.
it up so he's not embarrassed either, or they're not
Right.
embarrassed either.
No.
But
It's
it's
a big deal.
nuanced.
No, it's a big deal, and it's important, that we have these kinds of conversations, not just today, but every day, and more often in general. You know what I mean? So, I want to um, thank you for being on Bishop Chronicles. I hope you come back soon. I hope we don't wait for another pandemic to kick in before we do another show. I'm really proud of you and happy for you. I remember when you
Thank you.
first started telling me you were going to go to Kenya, and I was juiced for you, and I'm still juiced for you. I'm so happy for you.
Thanks.
Hopefully, at one time, I'll hopefully be able to come out there and help do something or whatever. But I'm really proud of you, and really happy for the person you've chosen to be. In this
Thank you.
space of jujitsu.
I appreciate it. And yeah, my next mission now is to buy land and build a community dojo. So, when all of that happens, you definitely have to come over
Yeah.
and teach some of my little scholars, because there will be girls between the age of 12 and 18 who will probably get half or full school scholarships whilst they're learning Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu at the community dojo. So,
I love
you
it. I
gotta
think that's
come.
a beautiful idea, and anything I can do to help you actualize that, just hit me up and let me know. Tell
Appreciate
everybody
it.
how they can get at you on IG and any upcoming things you have going on.
Perfect. So I'm on Instagram as at the.ronin.storm, where you can see like pictures of me that where I've traveled through Europe studying jujitsu. Also, my website is justshiggy.com. So that's JUSTSHIGGI.com. And that's where I should be doing all my blog posts and everything. And if you want to kind of see more about the crazy adventure of me literally trying to buy land to do all of this, because it's happening now. We're in March 2026. So every day is a new day kind of going for this. Yeah, find me on those places. I'm also on TikTok as Just Shiggy,
All right.
because that's where the community for this is actually happening.
Okay. Beautiful.
But yeah, that's where I'm
Beautiful.
at.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we'll get you back on soon. So, y'all, thank you for checking out Bishop Chronicles. You know how we do it. We got to have the real conversations. I'm telling you, it's about jujitsu and philosophy. This is what we do. We'll have more of these kind of conversations, and we'll see you in a couple days with more coolness, one love, and West Side.